Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Gray Mars.
And I'm D White.
Today on the new party, we're going to be discussing Vivek's interview on the Breakfast Club that occurred yesterday. They talked about a lot of things with the election. So definitely some good moments. The first clip that I'm going to play is Vivek asking, or Vivek discussing MAGA and what it means still. Gray, do you
Yeah.
think that the term MAGA will ever unite this country, or will it always be a source of contention for non-MAGA people?
It's definitely going to always be a source of contention, and I don't look at Vivek as somebody that represents MAGA, to be honest with you, because I mean the very phrase is "Make America Great Again." So I feel like it's kind of like the words, and I'm not saying that this is it, but it's almost "Make America White Again." That I feel like it's the term of it. So Vivek to me doesn't fit what they want at all. So that's what I think. What about you, D?
I think it's a lot of that point
Hear you.
Out "Make America Great Again" means white. At no point did they ever say "Make America White," make it straight, make it Christian. None of that. Just simply make it great. America, growing up, I felt like America was a great country. Um, Obama's first term, it happened right after the big crash, the housing crash. So I don't really blame him for it. But around that time is when America started to change. And it changed for the worse. We started getting in. Well, we already had a history of bombing countries where people upset us. We had a history of uh, the illegals weren't such a huge problem at the time, but there's a lot of drugs, drug deaths and stuff like that. I think that America has been great for a long time, and I would love to get back there.
I think America has been on a decline since Obama, unfortunately. I loved Obama, but I feel like he was very polarizing and he angered a lot of white people. So I think that America has been on a decline since Obama. I'll be honest with you.
That's exactly the same. That's like what I'm talking about. That's the time period when it started to shift.
Right.
I,
Gray?
um, I had went out, but I came back in. So, but the phrase "Make America Great Again," the phrase is what I think makes people upset, because I think when you say that, you're not speaking of a specific time frame of when this place was great. I remember we talked about this before, and we said the '90s. The '90s was it what we're talking about. But I think just to the world, when you hear that phrase, you automatically say, okay, so what time period is this person talking about? So I just think the phrase in itself is always going to be offensive to someone.
Well, I think as a person of color, you think back in history for American history, and it hasn't always been so great for non-whites in this country. Truly, it really has not. I will say that when segregation existed, for those that were historically or black in this country, um, the black family was stable. We had black businesses more. We had men in the family. So unfortunately, was that a better time for the black families, for example? I don't know, and I'm not saying it wasn't, because I don't think segregation is a good thing. I think integration is always best, but that's why it offends people, because people of color think, well, when was it great? It wasn't always great for me being a person of color, but I think the best time for all people overall was the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
like
all
I like that we're having this discussion because this shows that how any statement made period can be divisive if we choose for it to be divisive. Just like when Candace Owens made a simple statement stating that Christ was king, some people felt offended by that. All she said was Christ was king. And just like Donald Trump said, let's make America great again. That's all he said. Everyone else is filling in the blanks and adding this and subtracting that to make it a negative phrase when he simply only stated, let's make America great.
right. And I think it's that always like conversation when people are like, oh, where would you go if you had a time machine? And then like, as a black person, you're always like, oh, I want to go forward. Like, so I think it's that uncomfortable question in the American culture. That's just how I feel about that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But getting back to 2024 election, Vivek asked a good question. Who is running the country?
Uh,
Who's running the country? D, who do you think it is?
I think it's the same people who've been running it for the past 4 years, man. Or 3.5 years. I think it's the likes of Pelosi, Obama,
Yes.
Hillary, all those guys, all the incumbents. The powers that be. Those are the people who pulling the strings in the background. I believe, because it's definitely not Joe. He's somewhere eating ice cream on a beach right now, as he should be, because he's an old senile man. So let's keep him there, away from the big red button on the desk.
What I feel like is Joe Biden's staff. Do I feel like it's like age and the Democratic machine running the country? Of course. I mean, like you gotta like we said with Trump, we wanted to run like a business, so they're gonna try to run it as effectively as possible as a business. As far as him saying that the president is a figurehead or like a person to like just be, I don't feel like Joe Biden's a puppet, but do I feel like he was the person after COVID to bring everybody together from right, left, and he was the vice president, older white guy, and he's cool with everybody. So I think he was the perfect person for that time period in 2020.
Well, we definitely don't know who's running the country, but we do know that the economy has been a disaster. Let's hear what Vivek has had to say on the economy.
race.
Mhm.
I think Vivek killed it on this interview. He hit it where it hurt. They need to have Vivek out there on the trail and not JD Vance anymore. He's bringing up good points and he's talking in a layman terms, or in terms that Americans can follow along with. She has no policy. Gray, what do you think about that?
I definitely think she has policy. She hasn't been talking to the news media. But if you look at Wall Street, if we're talking about the economy, we had a scare on here maybe like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And basically, when everything was talking about Bitcoin dropping and everything, so it's bounced back from that. And then when you look at inflation, is cooling, and they're also talking about cutting inflation next month. So she has some type of economic policy, and she's going to bring that forth at the DNC. So I don't feel like he said anything that would help the Republican Party if they put him out there. But what do you think, D?
All the things that you just named are things that happen. It's none of Kamala policies. It's not one thing that you said had anything to do with Kamala has articulated, or that she stands or believes for the future. She says, "I want to help the middle class." What does that mean? You want to buy everybody
What does
puppies,
that look
cats,
like?
kittens? What does that mean? You say you want strong borders. What does that mean? I mean, tell us, give us your plan. Are you gonna the only thing that I've honestly heard her say, besides that she was gonna not tax tips anymore, what she stole from President Trump 2 months ago. We all heard it. We all know it. And we're not going to pretend that it didn't happen. But the only thing that I've heard her say is that she's going to hire more border security. But for what? To process illegals in faster? Is that what you're hiring them for? Because that's what they were advocating for under
Right.
under Biden. So I mean, she really, everybody always say that Kamala's great, Kamala's this, but no one actually knows what Kamala believes. All the key things that she fought for, now she's against, or she fought against, now she's for. No one
Right.
knows Kamala or her plan, man, and it's terrible for the
No
people
one.
that they just stuck her in here, and they let her go for almost a month without speaking to anybody about her plans. They put a tape in the teleprompter, put her on stage, and say, "Hey, you read this. Do not differentiate. This is what you're gonna say." And she says the exact same canned speech every time at her rallies, and that's all we get.
I think she's supposed to release it tomorrow. If not, it's supposed to be released at DNC. But go ahead,
All right,
Norma.
let's see the
Yeah.
DNC. But this next clip, he says it best. Kamala Harris is a flip flopper. Do we think Kamala Harris is a flip flopper?
100%.
I feel like she's doing what's popular. I mean, I think to take the border away from Donald Trump is a smart political move. And the polls are saying she's actually up 2 points as far as being trusted with the economy. Did she steal the tips thing? D. White's correct. She stole that. And I think that she is just doing what's popular. But I feel like her background with being a prosecutor and her being a VP, and Joe Biden was pretty moderate. So she has a background to say, I'm pretty much in the middle.
Do you think Joe Biden was moderate?
Yeah, I mean, like, because let's look at it. The student loan thing, right?
Yeah, that never
Bernie
happened.
Sanders wanted the whole thing, everybody just no pay for college. Joe Biden did a little piece of that. Joe with the borders. Joe Biden didn't do a full like stay in Mexico, but he did a little piece
20,
of
20
that.
million, 20 million immigrants. Uh-huh.
So I'm saying he is in the middle. Like he isn't doing it all the way, but he's doing it in the middle of like
You
the
remember?
road of
You
the
remember that? Do you remember that time he had a party at the White House and trans guys had their titties out? Remember that?
thing. Trump did the same thing. Trump had the flag in
Never,
the
never, 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 never.
I'm pretty.
Misinformation.
I know he had a pride flag or something there. I know he did something.
Misinformation. Yeah, man.
uh,
I definitely don't think anyone would classify Joe Biden as a moderate. I don't think anybody would say that.
so you
Never.
say he has
Or
left
that,
his Bernie Sanders?
he compared to Kamala
He's not a
Harris, he
socialist.
is more to the middle. Yes. Compared to Kamala Harris,
Okay,
he is a moderate.
okay, cool.
Okay. Well, let's see what Indian Americans think about Kamala Harris, since she only wants to say she's black.
Could offend.
Yeah, right. When did she claim both sides? Kamala Harris has not been Indian since 2008, 2009, when she was first elected. Dee, what do you think?
Yeah, yeah. If you put 5 people in 5 different rooms and they all speak to Kamala separately, they'll speak to 5 different Kamalas. Whatever that person in the room believes or likes, that's what she likes and that's what she believes also. She's
Right.
obviously a flip flopper. She'll say anything to get somebody's vote. And to me, that's a dangerous
Exactly.
politician. I'd rather a politician look at me and say, hey, I believe this. I don't care if you like it. This is what I believe.
Right. Right.
At least with Bernie Sanders, we knew exactly what we were getting. He was a socialist. He wasn't afraid to admit it. When you with Donald Trump, you get exactly what you get. It's no guessing in between. And I just think that that's the worst type of person for America, personally.
This is when I'll sound like a Republican and what I say to Republicans. Like he was on there, he was saying he's upset that she isn't saying her the Indian American side. And what I don't get about Republicans is this: why are they more worried about a Mexican coming over here, taking a job where he's a low level job with people like Vivek and there's other Indian American people that come over here and buy 7-Elevens, buy businesses, buy all these things. People with other cultures when they come, and I feel like they're taking like more, I would say like prestigious or luxury jobs. So like, why don't they get the same amount of like visceral hate that like a Mexican that came across the border gets?
Okay, I'll take this one. It's very easy. Because for someone to come over and buy a 7-Eleven, that is not obtainable for the average American. The average American does not have enough money to buy a 7-Eleven. The average American could go work at a 7-Eleven to make enough money to, help scrape by and make ends meet. That's the difference. You're taking jobs away from more average Americans who need those jobs versus the high paying jobs that most people don't qualify for anyway. Most people don't that I know can't qualify for to go buy a 7-Eleven. But I know a lot of people who could go work at Home Depot, who could go work at Walmart, but they can't because the job's already been filled by somebody else who shouldn't even be here.
Agreed.
Okay.
You summed it up best. And the last clip, Gray, you're going to love this one. They asked him the question about how he felt about what Ann Coulter asked him. So, Gray, what do you think about that question and his response?
I think it was a agree that in the Republican Party it would very much be extremely hard for an Indian American to get elected. I feel like black people are really just starting to get their foot in with Republicans, and so I don't think he stood a chance. Do I feel like it's wrong? Of course, but Republicans kind of have like a traditional value set. So I think it's going
Right.
to be kind of hard to say, conservatives working with people. I can't see conservatives having someone from another country represent them. I just don't feel like that's what they stand for. What about you, D?
You mean similar to the Democratic Party who now made Kamala black because they didn't want her to be Indian because that doesn't help them, or they're afraid that black women wouldn't identify with an Indian woman, so they just made her black now. I think that's what you mean. But honestly, I think that Vivek answered that question really nicely when he stated that what would offend him more is if that she wouldn't be allowed to say it. Like me and Nora
Right.
have conversations off air all the time, and I tell her all the time, just because something is offense something offends you, ask yourself first,
Right.
is it true? And if it's true, take a step back and just accept it for what it is. And like the lady had every right, she had every right to tell Vivek, I like you, I like what you're saying, but I wouldn't vote for you because you're Indian. That's her personal belief, and she has every right to feel that way.
Well, she felt like that because it's the highest job in the land, and she feels like she wants someone who truly represents America first. And she felt like it's a conflict, like because he's not he's first generation American. So to her, it didn't represent that. I think she would feel better if it was like an ADOS person, like a descendant of a slave versus him.
Yeah, black African American person. Yeah, I completely
Right.
agree with that. And I think that needs to happen first uh, before someone else of a representation.
Really? So why are you voting for Kamala
So why you
Harris
voting for
then?
Kamala? Exactly.
Listen, if Tim
That's
Scott
what
would have been in the VP, I might have looked at the ticket twice. If he would have picked Tim Scott, because to me, that's what America needs to see. America needs to see a black person, black man, whoever, at the top of the Republican ticket. And this is going to help Republicans. I don't know why they don't feel this way. So they can drop the racism card, and then they can have more of a better conversation. So that's what I think Republicans need to do.
Well,
I
I already
completely
told
agree with
my
you.
my
Yeah.
prediction. JD Vance is going to drop out. He's going to step aside. He's going to say he's a distraction. And if Trump, if you're listening, if you're smart, please pick Tim Scott. You need to fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
I wish that would happen, but I just don't see it. I don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening either. I mean, it came
Eh,
close. The Republican Party, I will say, has came a long way. If we look at Republican primaries, a lot of diversity up there. So they're headed in the right direction, but they didn't go all the way this year.
Well, let us know what you think in the chat. What do you predict is going to happen next week at the DNC? What do you predict Trump's new strategy should be moving forward? As he is dropping in the polls, I will admit that he's not looking too good. He needs to have a new strategy and re-strategize and reinvigorate. Great. Any closing words?
No, what about you, D White?
Nope, just always vote.
Like,
Always
share,
vote.
subscribe, comment. Always vote.
Always vote.